Screen Slurps.
Hello and welcome to Screen Slurps, the movie review podcast where we discuss the good, the bad, and the savage in the world of cinema. I'm Adam Meisner.
And I'm Laura Herlocker.
And this week, we're going to be talking about the High Sierra.
You moved your lips too much. He doesn't move his lips at all. You gotta pretend like you're a ventriloquist.
I know, that was a little too much, like, here, I'm losing my people. Who's Sean Connery?
Yeah.
I was a little too
little
Sean Connery on that one.
I mean, he does have that.
I need to talk a little more like this.
There you go. But, like, he doesn't move his lips at all.
I gotta put a smile on my face and then just talk like I can't stop smiling. Let's go into the mountains and get up into the High Sierra. Okay, we're gonna go rob a bank because I'm so happy. No, it's gonna be a bank in the hotel, and we're gonna enjoy it. Or we're gonna go. You're gonna get the gun out, and it's gonna. If you rat us out.
What are you doing?
He was knocking on the table.
Oh.
Gosh, shows how much you know about movies. Am I right, ladies and gentlemen? I kid.
Isn't part of my my jarb.
Right, Jar Jar Binks?
Isn't part of my charm that I don't know a whole lot?
You gotta work together.
My jarb.
So anyways, this week we're talking about the movie High Sierra with Humphrey Bogart, who starred as a protag in this movie. One of the earliest movies he was a protagonist in, if not the first movie he was.
Yeah, it was his first leading role.
From 1941, a classic film noir, if I do say so myself. But before we get into describing High Sierra, we're going to talk about our side slurps. That's right, our side slurps. If this is the first time you've listened to our show, our side slurps are the things we've done other than watching the film of the week. Things like watching other shows, watching other movies, maybe watching people play in the park outside. That's a little weird, but
yeah, that's creepy. We don't do that.
We don't even have a park outside of our place.
We don't do that, listeners. We're not creepy.
But we think of plenty of other good things to do. So Laura, what have you been up to other than watching High Sierra?
So the biggest thing I did this last week is last weekend, actually, I went home to Michigan. So that's where I'm from. I'm from like the Ann Arbor area. I went home because, listeners, I think I've said this before. Adam and I are getting married next year, but so is my sister. So my little sister, Emily, shout out to Emily if she's listening. She's getting married next year as well. So I went home for the weekend and we did we got manicures. You had a little girls' day with our mom. And then Saturday we went wedding dress shopping. So Emily found her dress and it's beautiful and we all love it. So it was a lot of fun seeing them. And then I got to meet my future brother-in-law's family, which was really nice. We all went to dinner together. And yeah, just, slumber party at my sister's. We watched 10th Kingdom, which is our favorite thing. We love it so much. Adam, I don't think you've ever seen it. It was a mini series that was done on, I want to say ABC or something back in the early 2000s. And it's like a 7-part mini series. It's about I don't even know how to explain it. It's like another world that's where fairy tales are real. So Cinderella, Snow White, Jack and the Beanstalk, all these fairy tales are real.
Sounds very familiar, but I think you're right. I don't think I've actually sat down.
We should really watch it. It's so much fun. So it's about a woman and her dad from New York, our world, who get transported to the fairy tale world, the 9 kingdoms. We love it. It's a lot of fun. So we didn't watch the whole thing because it's literally 7 hours long, but we watched some of it during our little slumber party. So that was a really big thing last week, Michigan. On the way back, I took the train from Michigan back home, the Amtrak. And during that train ride, I read my book of the week, which was The League of Gentlewomen Witches by India Holton. It's actually the second in a series. The first one was called The League of... I don't even know. It
just makes me think of The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
No, that's what I think of too whenever I read the title. But it's quirky. It's set in like the Regency era. So, think like Bridgerton era, Regency England. And it's about, there's like a group of women pirates and then a group of women witches. And they're kind of enemies, but like frenemies. And it's quirky. It's fun. It's a romance. The first book was focused on the pirates, and this book was focused on one of the witches. It's fun. It's like a little too quirky and cheesy at times, but for like a rom-com, no, it's a good book. And then the last thing, which I'm sure is something you're going to talk about too, Adam, so we can just joint do this together. But Adam and I have started a new TV show. It's so good. It's called Under the Banner of Heaven on Hulu. It stars Andrew Garfield.
Who's that?
Who is that? He is Spider-Man, one of the Spider-Mans.
One of the many?
Yeah, one of the three. I mean, three main ones. There's more, I know, but the three live action big ones, we'll say. But yeah, and it's based on a true story, and it's about a murder that happened, what is it, like the 70s?
The 1980s.
Oh, it's the 80s?
Yeah.
In like Salt Lake City. So it's having to deal with Mormons because, Salt Lake City is very highly populated by the Mormon people. So yeah, it's just them trying to figure out who murdered this woman and her child. And we've got all this like family drama happening with like
the Laffertys.
Yeah, the Laffertys, who are a really well-known Mormon family. They're just trying to figure out like who killed them and what else is going on. Andrew Garfield plays the main detective.
Who's also a Mormon. Yeah,
he's also a Mormon. And then his partner is who played, oh my gosh, Jacob from Twilight. Jacob, everyone, the werewolf, his dad. I can't remember his dad's name right now.
I was going to say, if that was Jacob, then boy, Jacob grew up.
He aged a lot. No, Jacob's dad, that actor from Twilight, he plays Andrew Garfield's partner. And it's just such a good show. I mean, I love a good like true crime murder story. So this show is right up my alley. But adding in also the like complexities and kind of like what's happening in the Mormon church and stuff adds like an extra level of intrigue that's just so good. Like, it's just so good to watch.
Yeah, and I think it's very much like, it reminds me a lot of season 1 of True Detective.
Mm-hmm. Visually,
only
even too.
This is based on a nonfiction story. So it's like, wow, there's a true story, there's an element of realism to this because it was a real situation. Mm-hmm. And the fact of the matter that this was a real situation that they're basing this on, and that there's this element of so much religion in it.
Yeah.
I think it brings me into the show even that much more.
Agreed.
So I enjoyed season 1 of True Detective because you're seeing what was Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey as these detectives working together, these partners, and their kind of story that they're telling. And when I was watching that, I was thinking like, wow, this is really cool. These two detectives going on these, detective things, trying to figure out.
Well, they were also trying to solve a kind of like religious, Satanistic looking crime, right? Wasn't the woman they thought it was like a ritual, like a satanic ritual when she was murdered?
I think so. I don't entirely remember. I think
I've only seen the first episode.
I just remember the whole thing in True Detective season 1 was that they were really doing these heavy interrogations with Matthew McConaughey's character.
Right.
And his character was totally strung out in the interrogations, where he had super long hair at the time in the interrogations, and he's just like smoking a cigarette. Like,
because he had kind of gone like over the deep end, right?
Yeah. And he's totally crazy at this point, and he was a detective, so he's just kind of like being interrogated by other cops, like, oh yeah, I'll tell you all about it. And then they would go back to when he was a cop with Woody Harrelson, and they're both super clean.
Yeah.
When they're cops together.
Right, like two timelines kind of going back. This one, Under the Banner of Heaven, just one timeline. Yeah. But visually, it does give me like True Detective vibes.
Yeah.
It just has that nice like look about it. It's like gritty.
And I think it just looks really good for what they're trying to portray of like the early 1980s. It really makes it look like you're in that time, which I got to say, props to the, the set designers and everything.
Yeah,
and
the production designers.
The costume designers and everything, making it just look and feel like you're really in that time. So
and also Andrew Garfield is great. I think now people are kind of appreciating him more, but I think he's kind of been like an underappreciated actor.
Yeah, I mean, when he first started off, I'm sure it was probably just like, oh, yeah, another, young actor doing his thing.
But he's good.
He can play whatever you put him in, really. That's what it seems like.
I mean, yeah, what's the one that we watched that was based on the guy who wrote Rent? Tick, Tick, Boom.
Yeah.
So, like, he goes from that to this, like, Mormon detective who's, like, kind of questioning morals and, like, the church and things. And then he's, like, a really sarcastic and funny Spider-Man. You know, he, like, has a wide range that he can play.
I mean, I think it just works for this show that he Under the Banner of Heaven, because his detective role in this is he's just a family man. Mm-hmm. He's a Mormon and he's got kids. He's got his wife and he's about his religion and he's going to go in and do his job. He doesn't look like this over the top older man. He's this kind of young adult who's like, yes, I'm here for my family. I'm here to do my job. And then he's put in a situation where it's like, all right, now you also have to like try and figure out this murder Mormon case.
But also he's starting to like question. Yeah, he's starting to question his own religion, right? Like,
and that's the point.
Because he's dealing with a mother who doesn't want to be here anymore. And, you know, he's trying to grapple with that. And then, just like small aspects of like what he's been told his whole life, he's starting to question. And
it was good casting because I don't think you could really get that same feeling if you were to cast an older actor or someone that looks older.
Definitely they needed like a younger guy. But then it's nice that his partner is like an older
person.
Yeah, so they have that good like dichotomy between the two of them.
Yeah.
And even the actors who play the Lafferty brothers, I think most of them are like quite not like they're not well known. Not that I know, they're not big names. I mean, Sam Worthington, I know him, like who plays Ron, the oldest brother. I've seen him in other stuff, but the rest of them, I think they're kind of like more quiet, like haven't done a lot of big things. I mean, one of them is a Culkin, the youngest Rory Culkin brother. But even them, they're like great actors as well. And I think that's really the big things for my slurps this week. I mean, going to Michigan was really the biggest thing. What about you, Adam? What have you been up to this week?
This past week, I have not been doing anything too crazy. This past week, I have been checking out the book that I have been diving into for the past few weeks. If you haven't picked up on it from our last few episodes, I am a very slow reader. And I have been reading the book from Ryan North, How to Take Over the World. I think this is one hand, hysterical kind of book. The other hand, a very interesting book because he is telling you like it is. He is telling you real things about, the world. But at the same time, he's telling you how to be a supervillain. And if you would really like to be a supervillain, a real supervillain, he's telling you the facts. Where to build your supervillain base realistically, and where to do everything as a supervillain. I'm not sure how to continue that. It's kind of like I'm really just diving into the book. And the big thing was, don't build your base underwater because of lack of oxygen levels. And that was kind of the big point that he started with, but he really gets into the details of why, you can't realistically build a base underwater, not just the lack of oxygen levels, but the greater details of that he goes into, and also why you can't build a base, in like the desert or things like that. Or
didn't he do like in a volcano too?
Oh yes, that was another one, in a volcano, because the volcano could erupt and basically flood your base with lava.
But then it also talks about real world, right? Because you were telling me the book was also talking about how there are like communities that live next to volcanoes.
Yeah,
who have to deal with
one
that.
Specifically that is built, or there is a community that is designed or is currently thriving next to a volcano. Not a very large community. I think its population is about 500 people or 1,000 people or something. Very small community, but they had already been wiped out before, thousands upon thousands of years ago. It's a very long time ago that the volcano erupted and wiped pretty much all of them out, but they have rebuilt next to the volcano now. And
now it's like, is it going to happen again?
Is it going to happen again? It's probably not a wise idea to be next to that volcano, but they're doing it. They are living next to that volcano. So he advised in that book, you probably shouldn't do that. And it goes on. He goes on to other things, but he does give you an idea of what a good idea of where to put your base is. I'm not going to spoil that. So you should probably just read the book and check out where a good place to build your base would
If you want to become a super
Yeah,
villain.
if you want to become a super villain,
check out the book.
Yeah, check out How to Take Over the World by Ryan North. It's just an interesting concept that he is advising you on how you could be a great supervillain. And granted, it wouldn't be cheap. It would not be a very budget-friendly concept to be a supervillain, but he will advise you on that. And it's pretty funny. Laura also bought me a collection of a released series entitled Bone. I had read a few of the Bone books growing up years ago, and I saw the collection and told Laura it would be great to have that collection. And thank you, Laura, for getting me the collection. But oh boy, is that a lot of books and a lot of pages. So
it's a graphic novel, though, right?
It is a graphic novel.
So it reads a little quicker.
It is a fantastic graphic novel, and I think the collection, last time I checked, was about 1,000 pages or more. So it might take me a little bit to get through all of those.
Do you remember like what the premise of the story is?
Honestly,
has it been too long?
It has been a long time, but Bone is the main character.
He's like a little ghost-looking dude, isn't he?
He is a little man, yeah. But I cannot wait to dive back into that graphic novel series and just read through all of them. I just remember it was just such a fun little book to read, and I'm happy to have all of them in my hands now and just go through all of them because it is just such a fun little book to read. And yeah, those are just the two main things that are in my hands right now. I just cannot wait to keep going through those books. Love checking out graphic novels and things like that. And I can, like I said, cannot wait to finish those books and keep on going through Under the Banner of Heaven, as Laura had mentioned.
Yeah, we're caught up. It's coming out weekly. We're not used to this. We like the last few years we've been doing shows that are all out so we can like binge it all at once, you know? It's weird to go back to like the old times.
Yeah, it feels like we're back on cable television.
Yeah, I'm having to like wait week to week to get an episode.
I think that's a good feeling.
It is nice.
So that brings us into our episode of the week, High Sierra from 1941. High Sierra was directed by Raoul Walsh.
That's a great name. Sorry, Raoul.
Raoul Walsh.
It's very French.
The screenplay was by John Huston and W.R. Burnett. It was based on High Sierra by W.R. Burnett. Produced by Mark Hellinger. Starring Ida Lupino, Humphrey Bogart, Alan Curtis, Arthur Kennedy, and many, many more. With cinematography by Tony Gaudio. Edited by Jack Killefer. Music by Adolf Deutsch. And distributed by the, probably not the one and only, but we'll just say that for fun, the Warner Brothers.
Woo! I mean, Warner Brothers has been around forever, so yeah. They're one of the big ones. I was going to start doing the Animaniacs.
It's time for Animaniacs.
Because they live in the water tower, right?
Yes.
See? I know things.
So anyways, with all of that being said, so just a brief plot on what High Sierra was, or what High Sierra is. An aging mobster, Big Mac. Big Macs are one of my favorite things from McDonald's. I just stopped myself there. An aging mobster, Big Mac, is looking to pull off one more heist before he retires. With his sights set on robbing a California casino, Big Mac breaks one of his former associates, Roy Earle, out of prison to mastermind the job. When the robbery goes awry, Earle is forced to go on the lam and settles for the night in the hills of the nearby Sierra Nevadas. But with the cops on his tail, Earle is soon forced to fend off the law from the mountains. Your voice, you like steadily got more and more of an accent as you read through. I feel that's just natural for me anytime I watch 1930s, 1940s.
Honestly, though, as we were
noir.
joking at the beginning of this episode, like it's Humphrey Bogart. It's the way he speaks, but like he barely moves his mouth. He looks like a ventriloquist, and he has such a strong like gangster voice going on.
And it's just how everyone talks in, as I was saying, 1930s or pretty much before,
Like
up
old
until
Hollywood.
pretty much maybe 1955. I don't know, is like when the film noir dialect has started to decline a little bit. But everything before that, it's just the Humphrey Bogart dialect for the most part.
Would you consider this movie to be a film noir?
Yes.
See, I'm like, it's at the very beginning of film noir, right? Like, it's kind of, because film noir movies were mainly like the 40s, 50s. So this is early because 41, right? I don't know. To me, I would more consider this like a heist movie, which doesn't necessarily mean it's not a film noir, I guess. I don't know. That was like one of the questions I had for you and one of the things I was thinking about. And I was like, well, I mean, first of all, what constitutes a film noir? Right? It's always like murder, some kind of crime. It's like dark and gritty. So I guess this kind of falls into that category.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just the look of the film. There's a crime.
Yeah.
There's two women that are involved with Humphrey Bogart.
That's right. There's like a love triangle. I guess it would be considered a film noir. To me, I'm like, oh, it's a heist movie. It's kind of a gangster mob movie. Kind of not really. Mostly a heist movie. But I can see film noir as well.
Yeah. And I mean, Humphrey Bogart's character, just all of the way that he talks, I cannot get over the dialect that is in movies like this. And kind of like you were saying, we can't just pin all of the dialect on Humphrey Bogart himself because there's plenty of other actors that talk like that in movies like this.
Oh, yeah. It's just like the style of early Hollywood.
It's just the way that he talks to people, everybody. And to think that this was one of the first movies, if not the first movie, that he was the true protagonist in. Yeah. And everything he says, not everything, he does talk like a normal human, but he just the lines that are in this movie, like when he goes in to have a conversation with one of the main people that he's talking with about the main job, and he goes in there with a smile on his face, and he asks him, "You an ex-copper?" A copper? Yeah, an ex-copper? Are we all going to talk to the police like that? Like, hey, Mr. Copper? Like, you get pulled over on the side of the street, like, oh, hello, Mr. Copper. What was I doing today? Like, we don't call the police coppers yet.
Well, they did back then.
That's true.
So, I mean,
we should bring it back. You know what? Vinyl is popular. Let's bring back the term copper.
A copper?
Yes. Hey, copper, what's going on?
I think it's a very, like, British term also. Like, I think in England, they often call them coppers. But Peaky Blinders, they do, I think.
Oh, okay.
The coppers.
The coppers. See.
No, but as you were saying, this was Humphrey Bogart's first, like, leading role. So before this movie, he pretty much was only, like, supporting cast. And he had to, like, fight to get casted in this role. He would like not leave Raoul Walsh, the director. He would not leave him alone. And he was like, cast me in this movie. Like, I want this role. I want this role. And they were all like, no, you're a supporting actor. You can't be a lead. And they finally, Bogart like finally wore them down and they casted him. And so that's why in this movie, he's not top billed. So Ida Lupino, she's top billed in the movie. And Bogart's right below her. And this was the last time he was ever like not top billed, you know? And the reason why he wasn't was because obviously, number one, before he'd only been a supporting actor. So he wasn't really like well known, but also Ida Lupone she just had like a movie that had done really well beforehand, you know? So they were like, well, we need to put her first because she's going to make us money. No one knows Bogart. So that's why like she's top casted. But that was the last time that like Bogart wasn't top casted.
That's pretty crazy to think about, and especially because when you think about the cast in this movie, anyone that is growing up, going to film school, wanting to make movies, watching classic films now, nobody knows who Ida Lupino is. Not to call her out, not to put her down too much when I say that statement, but the point being, everyone knows who Humphrey Bogart is. Everyone that is in college to learn about classic films. I never was told who Ida Lupino was. And again, I'm not trying to put her down or her role as an actress. I thought she did a fantastic job in this movie. But my point is that when I was in school, everyone's talking about Casablanca or something, and they're not pointing at the female actress. Again, it's not me trying it's not me trying to diss the women in classic movies. The point is that all of the teachers are saying, look at Humphrey Bogart. They're just, that's the point. And they're pointing out that classic smile and the way he talks. This is classic film for you. And it's like, that's what's memorable. And that's interesting to think about, that his coming into the film industry was with his persistence of wanting to be the lead in High Sierra. And
I don't know that he was a great guy though. So
was anyone back then?
I know, like, I don't know. I was reading rumors that Ida Lupino was like, you're an asshole, and refused to work with him ever again. He was supposed to be in another movie with her like after this, and they recasted him because Ida Lupino was like, I will not work with him.
I feel like a lot of men have horrible reps from classic film industry. Like the classic film industry with men was just sexism dominance with men.
I mean, that's America in a nutshell, but that's another conversation.
That can be another another conversation.
That's a whole nother thing. While we're talking about problematic men, the director Raoul Walsh, I have a fun fact. The director Raoul Walsh, he and his brother was like a well-known silent film guy as well, and Raoul Walsh actually portrayed John Wilkes Booth in The Birth of a Nation. And his brother, I think, made that movie, The Birth of a Nation. So the really famous, silent film about the KKK. Yeah. Raoul Walsh played John Wilkes Booth, who we all know was the one who assassinated Lincoln.
Raoul Walsh was in Birth of a Nation?
Yeah, he played John Wilkes Booth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that's just crazy. And I mean, that movie is just... Oh, man. Classic cinema.
I have another fun fact about someone else behind the camera of this movie. Ready? You're going to like this one, Adam.
Go for it.
So John Huston, he is the screenwriter for this movie. This is the first time he worked with Humphrey Bogart, and they would go on to make like a lot of really big movies together. So they did like Maltese Falcon and a few other ones. The two of them like worked together a lot. But John Huston, the screenwriter, he played the villain in Chinatown. You know her dad? Mm-hmm. That's John Huston. So later in his career, he also did acting as well as directing and screenwriting.
He's the older man in Chinatown then.
Yeah, the dad.
Yep.
The baddie.
I got you. That's pretty crazy.
But after this movie, Huston, I don't know if it's Huston actually. Him and Bogart went on, like I said, they did Maltese Falcon together. They did Treasure of the Sierra Madre, Huston did The African Queen. He went on to do like a lot of really big movies. And the reason he was able to do that is because like this movie did so well for him.
Yeah, that is pretty impressive for John. And it's just crazy how the film industry works like that. You know, one second you're a screenwriter, the next second you're jumping into acting, and directing. Maybe another day you're a cinematographer. I guess the learning lesson from that would be, follow your passion, do what you want to do. And if you really are interested in manning a camera one day, pick up the camera, learn how to run the camera, and explain that to your friends and your peers that, hey, I can really run this thing. I can really do it. Just let's make a movie. I can shoot this thing. And if you develop that trust and that passion with your peers and your friends and things like that, go for it. Make it happen, especially now.
Go for it.
Yeah, no, seriously. I sound like I'm like a second grade teacher or something. Like, just go for it. But it's true. It's true,
You're
especially now. Truth. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I have plenty of friends now that talk to me like, I really want to make a movie. And my response to that is just, let's just make one. Yeah.
And we're like that Shia LaBeouf video where he's like, just do it.
Just do it. It couldn't have been more well said. I mean, not everyone makes fun of it, but a lot of people are just, it's so funny. And it's like, it's true though. I mean, if you want to do something,
do it.
Get up and do it.
Yeah.
Get up and do
it.
The
world is your oyster.
Exactly. So eat it. Oh my god.
Anyway, let's talk about this movie.
We've been talking about it.
I know, but we've been talking about the director. Let's talk about the movie.
So, Humphrey Bogart in this movie, he's a bad man.
But he's like, they make him like a likable bad man.
Don't they always in movies like this? You could be a steaming... No, I won't say that. You could be... You could be a real bad man that nobody should like, but you just love him.
Yeah.
And that's
what they did with him. You know, he's like a career criminal. He was in jail when the movie starts. Like, he's a bad guy, but at the same time, he seems to have some sort of moral compass. And it seems like he's like longing for like a simpler life. You know, he's like, this is my last job. It'll set me up for life and I can get out. And he like, you
say that like he's going to be a stockbroker. And then it's like,
no, he just retire.
His quote, last job is, I'm just going to rob another hotel. That'll be done.
But then he'd get lots of money and then he thought he could like retire and be done. You know, they make you like him even though he's a villain.
Except he sets up with people about half his age and they're like, oh yeah, we're going to work with Roy Earle. What a great time.
Yeah. So, I mean, listeners, that's the beginning of this movie. So we've got Roy Mad Dog Earle, which is Humphrey Bogart's character. He is sprung from prison by Big Mac, this older gentleman who's dying.
Yes.
And he wants to do one last big heist, which is to rob this luxury hotel up in the Mount Whitney, right? Like the Sierra Nevada. So he gets Mad Earl out to like kind of head this heist. And so I think he was in prison in like Chicago in the beginning. Yeah. So he drives out to the Sierra Nevada.
Yeah, he goes west.
Meets up with his teammates on this job, who are these two young, like dumb idiots. And then also another young guy who works at the hotel who kind of is like giving them an in.
Yeah. And he's also very sketch about the whole thing too. You can tell he's kind of
yeah. Well, you can tell like Roy's just like, I'm with three amateurs.
Yeah. And the guy from the hotel who's being really sketch, that's when Roy is telling him that if he like leaks about the whole thing, then he tells him a story about how he had a machine gun and the machine gun went pop, pop, pop.
Yeah. And I mean, he pretty much is like, if you fuck this up, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just interesting. And what I think is interesting too is so much of this movie is spent on the setup, like actually getting to the crime. You know, it's him up in the mountains with these two boys. They're not boys, young men, as well as one of the love interests in this movie, Marie.
Yeah.
Marie.
Which is Ida Lupino.
Ida Lupino. She was like the girlfriend of one of the younger men, but they were like abusing her and kicking her around. But she like loves the like criminal lifestyle. So that's why she just sticks around, I feel like. But she falls in love with Roy. But Roy is in love with this random ass like 20-year-old girl he met on the road.
Who's got a busted leg.
Yeah. So while he's driving out to the Sierra Nevada, he almost gets in a car accident with this family, who it's like a grandpa who is Clarence from It's a Wonderful Life.
Well, he doesn't get in the car accident. They
swerve and like run around each other, right?
I don't think so.
Because the grandpa almost ran Roy off the road when he was trying to avoid the rabbit.
Oh, yeah.
So they almost got in an accident.
Yeah.
But it's an older couple, a grandma and grandpa, and then their granddaughter. Her name's Velma. She's like 20, and she has a club foot.
I do have a fun fact related to that.
Yeah, give it to me.
So when Pa first meets Roy at the gas station, Pa, which is Clarence, I want to live again. Got to go back to
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life. It's funny how they're the same actor. Anyways, so when Pa says to Roy at the gas station, referring to an accident he almost had, saying, quote, "A jackrabbit jumped in front of the car and I kind of lost my head." This relates to director Raoul Walsh, who lost an eye a dozen years earlier when a jackrabbit jumped through the windshield of the car he was driving.
Through the windshield?
Yes.
Oh my God. That was either a very weak windshield or a very powerful jackrabbit.
Causing Raoul Walsh to lose an eye.
That's intense.
Yeah.
I mean, at least he's like good-hearted about it, I guess, if he made that a line in his movie.
Yeah.
Wow. I cannot imagine. How terrifying would that be?
Yeah.
You're just like driving around.
Just drive my car.
And then I'm like, rabbit. That'd be terrifying. Oh my God. But my question is, why the hell does Roy fall in love with Velma? She's like a third of his age.
He falls in love with her like as soon as he sees her leg.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way the scene connects.
But I think so what they're doing, that's his like morality thing, right? Like he wants to help the helpless. Like even though he's a villain, he, that's why he helps Pa, like the old man. He gives him money and he helps Velma get surgery to like fix her foot because he has this moral compass where he's like Robin Hood, right? He's like, I steal from the rich to give to the poor, kind of a deal.
Yeah. But then there is a twist that goes along with that. So he is helping the older man. He's helping Pa. And he sees that as she comes out, her leg is a little messed up. So it's like, oh my gosh, she's got a messed up leg. This is unfortunate. And the scenes go on. So he explains to Pa, like, yeah, I'll come see you again, whatever. And, this keeps going on. He's checking in with the people that he's working with. And what was
Babe in Red?
Babe in Red.
That's their names, the young men. Yeah. And then Marie.
And Marie. So he's checking in with them. Marie's got her face is a little messed up and he's trying to figure out who did this to you? What happened to your face? And it was Babe in Red and they did this and this was that. And so finally Humphrey Bogart goes over to the two of them and gives them a nice smackdown, I think. Like he pulls them out and
he's like, stop digging around.
Yeah, pretty much.
We got a heist to do.
He's pretty much like their dad.
I mean, he is like 3 times their age, twice their age. I don't know. It's just weird. Like, I feel like the love triangle, like the romance in this movie between Marie, Roy, and Velma had no point. Like there was no, his relationship with Marie later on has a point to the plot. But like the whole thing with Velma has absolutely it didn't move the plot along like at all. It was pointless, I feel like, other than to just show that he likes to help the helpless.
Well, it just caused him anger and tried to it tried to connect the dots a little bit more with Marie because Marie the entire time is like, I really love you, Roy. I really want to be with you. Like, please, let's be together. And he's like, no, I can't because there's no connection between us. I don't want to be with you. Yeah, like this isn't going to work out. And then she finally sees Velma and it's like, oh, so you're who he's talking about. Like you're Velma. And she had already told him before, like, sorry, I don't love you. She tells him once, I don't love you. And then he goes back to visit again and he sees her with another man and they're still trying to, like, the man that Velma's with is like, oh yeah, come hang out with us, come dance with us. And Velma's like, I'm going to marry this man. It's going to be great. And finally Roy's like, no, like, I don't want to be with you guys. I don't want to be here.
I just feel like
get out. And then that's the point where he's finally like, you know what? I'm going to get a ring for Marie.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. The whole time he's like, no, I don't want you, Marie. I don't want you. And then suddenly, because he's denied by this other woman, he's like,
it's like, you know what?
Oh shit, actually, Marie, you're looking pretty good right now.
Screw it. You know what?
It's just like, I would be upset if I was Marie. Feeling like you're the second choice. He only
that'd
chose
be like
you because
me thriving for someone for like forever. I'm just like, please, let's make this a thing. And then they're just like, nope, you know what? I don't want to be with you. And I'm like, damn. And then someone else who's just like, please be with me. And
the whole time you've been like, no, I don't like you.
Out of nowhere, I'm just like, oh yeah, you know what? Here you go. Here's a ring.
Let's get married.
Yeah. I gotta say it just like that too. Let's get married.
I don't know. I didn't like the whole Velma plot. I thought it was pointless.
And then that was at almost the end of the movie that he gives her a ring. It's like, you know what? Here you go. Let's get married. She's like, oh my gosh, she put it on the wrong finger. Here, let's put it on the right one. And with like 10 minutes to spare, he ends up pulling a heist, going into a mountain. Well,
the heist is before he proposes.
The actual heist?
Yeah. Yeah. But before we get to the heist, we have to talk about the most important character in this movie. Do you know who I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm talking about the dog.
Oh,
no, I know who you were talking. I was not talking about him.
Well, that'll be another point we make. Okay.
I'm talking about Pard, the dog.
Let's talk about the dog.
The dog is very important.
The dog is actually, you are so right. The dog is very important to this movie. And to my surprise, the dog is very important to this movie. And it's so interesting that the dog is always just popping out of nowhere. I mean, not literally out of nowhere, but he's just coming out all the time.
Cute.
He's barking. He's always trying to jump in the car. And
well, it's just funny because, I mean, kind of the dog is like foreshadowing, right? Because when Roy first meets the dog, he hears the story of the dog, and it's like anytime someone kind of takes in this dog as their own, that person ends up dying. So you're like, well, this is kind of foreshadowing because Roy kind of adopts the dog.
Yeah.
And so we're like, well, what's going to happen with Roy and this dog?
Yeah.
It's a very cute little scruffy dog, though.
He is a very adorable
His name was
little dog.
Pard. Supposedly it was Bogart's actual dog
Yeah.
named Zero.
I did see that, yeah.
Zero the dog.
What else? I was going to say, well, the first thing I think of when you say zero is freaking holes, but...
Dig it up. Oh, digging it. Dig it up. Oh.
I mean, that's something else, but this dog, man, he is just a little troublemaker.
He's so cute. A little scrappy thing.
And Marie always just, oh, can he come with us? Can he get in the
I know,
car?
she's like, please, Pod. Pod, I love you.
Yeah, Pod.
Zero was also in Law of the Timber. That's the only other thing he has his own IMDb page.
Oh, Lord.
But
Very
he's a
well-trained
cute
dog, though.
He was really good.
No, what I was going to say as an important character in this movie, very few scenes that he was in, but gosh, what was his name now? Algernon?
Yeah, Algernon. It's like a Greek, isn't Algernon like a Greek part of like the Odyssey or the Iliad? Like a classic Greek mythology thing?
That sounds like it.
I think so. Oh, well, there's the short play called Flowers for Algernon. I know that one.
Okay.
Maybe that's... I just looked it up and it just says it's from Norman French and it means with mustaches.
Whoa.
So we should call you that, Adam. You got a nice mustache right now.
Thanks for that. I'll have to get some photographic evidence. But Algernon, seeing his role in this movie, it's just... My first thought is this would not pass in today's filmmaking community.
No, I mean, it's quite...
Yeah.
I mean, listeners, Algernon is a black actor, and it is the 1940s. It's very racist for being the 1940s, obviously. The actor, though, is funny. Like, I feel like he would have been a great comedic actor. He has really good timing. Yes. He's like had a lot of physical comedy. Like how every time he like got woken up, this faces that he would make with his eyes and stuff. Like, I feel like he would have been a really good like physical comedy comedian. Absolutely. But yeah, it's a bit racist. It's the 1940s in the US, so I guess it's not that excuses it, but you know, that's kind of like reasoning why. Yeah, I mean, as I was saying, I don't think any filmmakers today would even think to write and cast a film quite like that now, script and showcase a film quite like that at all in today's world. And if they tried, then I don't know. I don't know how they would excuse that. Yeah, it was a different time. Yeah. But anywho's, we've got Pard and Algernon, great little side characters in this movie. And then, I mean, we get to the heist. It takes forever to get to the heist, though. Did you feel that way? Like, this movie was only an hour and 40 minutes, but it felt like it was hours. Like, yeah. It just took so long to actually get to the... And then the heist isn't even the end of the movie. There's so much that happens after it. And the young people that are part of the heist with Roy Earle, as he's in there trying to make sure that they can actually pull it off, they're in the back as he's asking them, how's it going? How's it going back there? And they're back there, oh, it's coming along. We're getting a lot of money from this. And then they end up driving down the wrong road, flipping their car and starting a car on fire. Like, okay, we should have expected that. Well, Roy purposely makes them crash. Oh, he did? Yeah. So they're in the heist. They're at the hotel and it goes awry, as the plot says, right? People show up, like people weren't supposed to be there, but they show up and someone gets killed. So obviously it's like really gone awry. And then as they're leaving, Bogart like purposely makes them like go down the other road and then they crash. You know, less people around to talk about it, the less likely you are to get caught. Right. So it's just him and Marie. You know, the other three guys, he's like, but it happens. The hotel worker survived. Oh, and so Roy and Marie are now on the run. They have all these jewels, like in the money from the heist. They're on the run. But it turns out that the hotel worker who was in on the heist, he survived and he rats on them. Mm-hmm. So now the police have pictures and like they know we're after Roy, Earle, Marie, and a dog named Pard. Yeah. So like they can't really like hide anymore because everyone knows their faces and has seen them. And that's the point where, you know, at this point, like Roy had proposed to Marie. He's like, here's a ring. I love you, blah, blah, blah. But then they decide it's just too dangerous to be together. So he tries to send her off on her own. And he's like, I can escape, you know, but then he's caught. Like the police find him because his picture's everywhere. And that's when we get this big like climactic scene of the chase like up the mountain.
Yeah. It reminded me so much of classic silent film, just like.
Well, I mean, Roy Walsh and his brother were well known for silent films, so it kind of makes sense that like why you're getting that vibe. It was very, it was very silent filmy. Yeah, they actually filmed it on location, like at Mount Whitney. Yeah, going up the mountain, and then of course Marie, as she finds this out, she decides like, can I get back to where I just came from? I gotta get back to Roy.
I gotta go back. And then she goes back with the dog, and of course the dog runs up the mountain like bark. Not up all the way the mountain, but up the mountain just to bark at Roy Earle like bark. And little surprise there, but then Roy hears the dog like, Pard, what's going on?
Well, then he's like, oh well, if Pard's here, that means Marie's here. So he comes out and he's like, Marie.
Yeah, he gives out his hiding spot and the rifle up top. Yeah. Pop, pop, pop.
He gets shot.
No, it's just one shot, actually.
And thrown. And so the fun fact about that scene, when he gets shot and he's killed, he falls like 90 feet down the mountain. His stunt double was like bouncing down the mountain, you know, and he's like, at the end, he's like, I want to do another take. Like, I don't think that was good enough. And Raoul Walsh, the director, was like, it's fine. Like the customers that pay 25 cents to see this movie, it's good enough for them. You know what I mean? Like,
jeez.
He's like, it's good enough.
Couldn't they have just created like a stuffed mannequin Humphrey Bogart or something?
I feel like that's what they would do now. Yeah. Like they wouldn't actually throw a person down.
Yeah, 90 feet? My God.
Have fun.
Yeah, like, all right, now just fall down the mountain, please.
But yeah, so the movie ends with Roy dead, Marie crying over him. It is a really big scene though, because like, so one of the things we didn't really talk about is Roy. I mean, we kind of did. You know, his whole idea was like, this is my last job. After this, I'm going to be free, right? And he talked about like crashing out, that he was going to crash out. And at the very end, Marie asked, she's like, what does it mean to crash out, to the police officer, like after he's died? And the officer's like, oh, it means to be free. And then she kind of walks away and she's just like, Roy is free, right? Because like he would never wanted to go back to prison. She knew he would rather die than go back to prison. So that's why she's like, I'm not going to try and coax him out. You know, like he would not go back to prison. So she's realizing after he's dead, like he is free.
Yeah. And she looks into the sky, just, he is free.
Free.
I wonder what's going to happen to her, though. Like,
I know. Is she going to get arrested as an accomplice? I mean, he did write that. Roy did write a note when he was up on the mountain saying, like, she had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But did he actually put that note in his pocket before he, like, got shot?
I know, it was in his hand. It's just like,
So it's probably gone.
Or it's just at the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
They don't even look for it.
They're never going to find it.
Yeah. So, it blows away in the wind.
It is interesting, like, what's going to happen to Marie and Pard.
They just shoot Pard.
Get him! Don't talk about that. It's a doggy.
He just keeps barking. They're like, shut up.
That'd be horrible.
That would be horrible. PETA would be on them for that.
Yeah. But yeah, so this movie, I mean, it wasn't a happy movie ever, but it definitely didn't have a happy ending.
No.
But I mean, maybe it's the ending Roy wanted.
Oh, Humphrey Bogart and Roy.
Oh, Humphrey Bogart is such a weird name. Who's named Humphrey? Butlers.
Horse?
Like, I feel like Humphreys is a butler name.
Get over here, Humphrey.
Humphreys, bring me my tea.
It's never plural.
Yes, it is. Humphreys is like the butler name.
I know, but like Humphrey is.
No, I know, but I'm saying Humphreys.
God.
Don't question me, Adam.
Jeez. So I think with Humphreys here.
Humphreys. I swear to God, that's a butler name in something. Hold on. I'm going to Google it because I feel like you're judging me. Humphreys is a butler name in something.
As Laura figures out who is named Humphreys somewhere, that brings us into our reviews of this film. We're going to take it to Rotten Tomatoes for for our first wave of reviews. And High Sierra on Rotten Tomatoes, the reviews say 92% from critics, 78% from the audience. Laura, does this take you by surprise by any means?
No, I can't find Humphrey. I swear to God, it's a Butler. I can't
You'll
find it.
have a friend named Humphrey somewhere.
Somewhere. No, I think this movie, like, I mean, it's Humphrey Bogart's like first leading role. That in and of itself makes it good. It's kind of the beginning of film noir. Like we're getting this transition from the mobster movie to more of the film noir genre. And it helped make that transition. So I'm not surprised that critics think this is a great movie. You know, it's at that time when we were shifting from like silent film to talkies and, you know, kind of establishing like what is going to be the classic Hollywood era. So I think this movie really like sets the tone for what is to come in the next 20 years in films. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I did find, this is super fun, I found a review from the New York Times from the day after the movie came out. So from 1941. And that review was also like talking up the movie and giving it really good reviews. I think like I pulled some quotes from it that I thought were really good. And it's just saying like, they were saying that it, you know, quote, it's rather touching to behold the Warners, meaning Warner Brothers, pay such a glowing tribute, for no one has made a better thing out of a legendary gangster than they have. So I think they really liked that this movie is like a gangster, but he's a lovable gangster. You know, they put like a good light on him. And yeah, this review from the 1940s was just saying like Bogart did so well. And they're like deeply moved by this honest payment of respects to an aging and graying veteran of the 1930 banditti who makes his last stand his best.
Ooh, how about that?
Yeah, I thought that was good. Banditti. It's a
banditti.
Fun word. It's a fun word.
Not a bandito or just a bandit. He's a banditti.
Banditti. It's very Italian.
I like that.
Yeah. What about you, Adam? Are you surprised? What do you feel about the 78% audience score?
I'm very curious why people would dislike this movie. I guess at the same time, I'm not too surprised. It's just kind of, you know, there's a fluctuation between, you know, the ups and downs in this movie. And it's, as we talked about, there's certain things in this film where, yes, I would give it that, you know, down rating, such as the clear racism for its time and the love interest between Marie and Velma. It's kind of like, what's going on here? Mm-hmm. However, I do enjoy Humphrey Bogart's performance in this movie. Yeah. And I think he's fun to watch. And I think with the crime and everything, I think it's very, very fun to kind of see how he is really pulling off his banditti performance.
You know, it's like the Baby Driver of the 1940s.
I don't know if I go that far, but
I was just thinking of a heist movie, and like Baby Driver is the first thing that came to my mind.
But yeah, I think with all of that being said, we're taking it straight into our slurps up or our slurps down of this film. Slurps up being whether we would recommend it, we think it's good, we think it's worth watching, maybe putting on your bookshelf of movies to pull back out another time and just keep on watching, or our slurps down if we think the movie is bad, we don't think it's worth watching, and we think that you should maybe put it in your oven, cook it for dinner, eat it, and then just forget about it.
Scarf it up.
Yeah. That makes it sound like you need to watch it, but
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, maybe don't scarf it up. Maybe
burn it and throw it in the trash.
So that being said, Laura, slurps up or slurps down?
Slurps up for me from the various things we've talked about. You know, for being kind of the beginning of the film noir genre and really like setting the pace for what's going to happen, the cinematography being the first big role for Humphrey Bogart. You know, we've got like great acting. I think this is a good movie to see, to understand like Hollywood of the time. As we said, there's some things I think weren't done great. No, the plot, I think there were aspects they put in that didn't have any reasoning, like his whole relationship with Velma. I think that could have been completely avoided, like left out, and that would have made the movie even a little better. Pacing was like a little off at times, but overall, like I said, I think this is important to watch, especially if you love classic Hollywood. So I give it a slurps up for sure.
And from my perspective, I will also give it a slurps up. I think the movie is very good for its time. This is a film that came out again in 1941, and for what it's worth, for a first-time protagonist role, really for Humphrey Bogart, I think he really put a lot into this role, and I think his following roles in future film noir sort of films for Humphrey Bogart, I think he really grows as an actor, and so for this being a starting point for him in that high of a role for him, I think it really sets a footprint for him for really getting his protagonist sort of career going. And if my word doesn't, make a staple for this being a film to watch, let it be known that this film is also included among the 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die book, edited by Stephen Schneider.
Adam and I have that book. There's a lot of good movies in it.
And this is one of them. This is one of the movies that I and Laura both have just said we think you should watch. I think, again, for 1941, it's a movie I think you should really just check out. There's a lot of movies, I think, for 1941 releases that you should probably check out. But this movie, again, it's just a great, I think, lesson would be a good word to say in terms of film creation for its time, for film noir movies, things like that, especially for the actors that are in it. Ida Lupino, Humphrey Bogart, and a handful of other great actors. And going off of that, I will say it again. Slurps up.
Slurps up.
And with that being said, that wraps it up for this episode of Screen Slurps. Be sure to follow us on social media at Screen Slurps on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. And be sure to listen to us on Spotify, Ghana, or just about any other podcast streaming service out there. And if you enjoy what you hear, slide on over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star rating. It will help us a lot. And if there's any crazy movies you want to hear about, please let us know. Leave a comment on one of our social media pages, and trust me when I say we will be sure to talk about it. So, closing out, I'm Adam Meisner.
And I'm Laura Herlocker.
Slurps up, and we will catch you later.
Laters, baby.